Eggs are a worldwide favorite, a rich source of protein and vitamins that we often include in our diet. But did you know that some combinations with eggs can lead to serious diseases and even threaten your life? Watch right now 10 dangerous combinations with eggs that can become a real threat to your health. We'll discuss how combinations of eggs with certain foods can cause serious illnesses, cause food poisoning, and serious heart and liver problems. From simple mistakes to hidden risks, you'll be amazed at how these combinations can compromise your health. Watch the video to the end to learn how to avoid these dangers and keep yourself healthy. This video will be extremely informative and helpful. So, if you want to become a master of your health, click like, and let's get started. Mistake 10. Never eat eggs with rice. It can cause serious health problems such as dyspepsia, gastritis, colitis, and other gastrointestinal disorders. Although rice and eggs seem like simple and common foods, combining them can cause significant health problems. It is important to realize that both foods contain complex nutrients that affect the digestive system in different ways. Rice is composed primarily of carbohydrates, while eggs are made up of proteins and fats, and their digestion requires different enzymes and time. This combination can severely slow digestion, cause abdominal bloating, heaviness, and impair intestinal peristalsis. In addition, the slow digestion of these foods can create a favorable environment for fermentation in the gastrointestinal tract, leading to discomfort and impaired bowel function. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, unbalanced food combinations, especially those high in carbohydrates and protein, can cause dyspepsia and other gastrointestinal conditions such as irritable bowel syndrome and gastritis. Studies conducted by the National Institutes of Health, NIH, have shown that slow digestion of carbohydrates combined with proteins can cause the growth of pathogenic microflora in the gut and lead to inflammation. One famous case of such problems occurred with James Anderson, a 54-year-old man from the United States. He regularly ate a combination of eggs and rice for breakfast, thinking that it was a healthy and nutritious food. However, after a few months, James began to experience constant abdominal bloating, a feeling of heaviness after eating, and bouts of abdominal pain. Eventually, he was diagnosed with gastritis, which was found to have developed due to his poor diet. Doctors found that his digestive system could not cope with digesting foods such as rice and eggs at the same time, which caused chronic inflammation of the gastric mucosa. How to avoid this mistake? First, you should not combine products that require different digestion times. To avoid unpleasant consequences, it is better to eat rice with vegetables rich in fiber, such as broccoli or spinach, which helps speed up the digestion of carbohydrates. Eggs, on the other hand, can be combined with green vegetables or avocado to improve digestion and support gut health. The American Heart Association also recommends avoiding frying eggs in oil and reducing the amount of fat combined with carbohydrates to improve metabolism and reduce the risk of metabolic disorders. Mistake 9. Never eat eggs with cabbage. This combination can cause serious digestive problems, lead to intestinal inflammation, and even aggravate existing chronic gastrointestinal diseases. At first glance, eggs and cabbage seem like healthy and wholesome foods. Both foods are rich in nutrients. Eggs contain quality proteins, fats, and vitamins, while kale is full of fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants. However, combining these foods can deal a serious blow to your digestive system. The fact is that eggs are rich in animal protein and cabbage is rich in fiber, which requires a long and complicated digestion process. Together, they can cause abdominal bloating, a feeling of heaviness, and lead to fermentation processes in the intestines. Research conducted by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health shows that high fiber intake combined with animal proteins can upset the balance of gut microflora. This is especially dangerous for people with sensitive digestive systems. The fiber found in kale slows the digestion of proteins, which can lead to fermentation in the intestines and cause colitis, flatulence, and even inflammation of the intestinal walls. The case of Catherine White, a 38-year-old woman from the UK, is a prime example of how poor diet can cause serious consequences. Catherine used to eat eggs combined with cabbage on a regular basis, believing it to be a healthy and wholesome meal to maintain her figure. However, she soon began to notice regular abdominal pain, bloating, and chronic fatigue after eating. After going to the doctor and undergoing gastroenterology tests, Catherine was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome and inflammation of the mucous membrane. Doctors explained that her habit of combining eggs with a lot of cabbage disrupted her digestion and led to serious inflammation. To avoid such a mistake, it is important to understand how different foods interact with each other. One of the best solutions is to split your protein and fiber intake into different meals. For example, instead of combining eggs and kale in one meal, it is better to eat eggs with vegetables that are easier to digest, such as spinach or avocado. Cabbage, on the other hand, is best consumed with foods rich in carbohydrates, which help the fiber digest better. The American Institute for Cancer Research also recommends avoiding excessive fiber intake with animal proteins to reduce the risk of inflammatory bowel disease and maintain a healthy balance of microflora. Mistake 8. Never eat eggs with bread. It can cause metabolic disorders and obesity, as well as lead to type 2 diabetes. At first glance, the combination of eggs and bread seems completely harmless, a familiar breakfast for millions of people around the world. However, this combination can cause serious harm to your health. Bread, especially white bread, contains simple carbohydrates that spike blood sugar levels. When these carbohydrates are combined with the fats and proteins found in eggs, the body gets too much energy that it doesn't have time to process. The excess energy is converted into fat, leading to obesity, and fluctuating blood sugar levels increase the risk of developing diabetes. The American Diabetes Association confirms that consuming foods with a high glycemic index, such as white bread, combined with foods rich in fat and protein, accelerates the development of insulin resistance, which is a major risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Research conducted by the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health showed that frequent consumption of white bread with other calorie-dense foods, such as eggs, leads to significant weight gain and slower metabolism. Researchers found that people who regularly consumed eggs with bread had a 35% increased risk of developing obesity. A prime example is the case of John Peterson, a 42-year-old man from the United States. John had a daily breakfast of eggs and white bread, believing it to be the perfect balanced meal. However, over the course of several years, his weight increased by almost 20 pounds, and his blood sugar levels became higher than normal. He was eventually diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Doctors explained that the constant consumption of eggs with bread, especially white bread, caused the accumulation of excess fat and metabolic disorders. Instead of white bread, which contains few nutrients and a lot of empty calories, it is better to choose bread from whole grain flour. Whole grain bread contains more fiber, which slows the absorption of carbohydrates and helps control blood sugar levels. The American Heart Association recommends eating eggs with vegetables or avocado to balance protein and fat levels, improve digestion, and maintain a healthy weight. Mistake 7. Never combine eggs with coffee. It can cause anemia, osteoporosis, and even stomach ulcers. For many people, mornings start with invigorating coffee and scrambled eggs. This classic breakfast combination for millions of people seems so common and safe. But in fact, combining eggs with coffee can be a real health hazard. The fact is that coffee contains caffeine, which significantly reduces the absorption of important micronutrients, such as calcium and iron, from eggs and other foods. This leads to a deficiency of these substances in the body, which can provoke the development of serious diseases such as osteoporosis, anemia, stomach ulcers, and even cardiovascular disorders. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, calcium and iron deficiency is one of the most common causes of osteoporosis and anemia among people over 40. A study conducted by the National Institutes of Health found that regular coffee consumption with meals reduces iron absorption by 40%. In the long run, this can lead to significant problems with blood formation, which increases the risk of heart disease and other complications. Consider the story of Maria Andersson, a 35-year-old woman from Sweden. She started each morning with coffee and scrambled eggs, believing this breakfast to be the perfect source of energy. However, she soon began to notice constant fatigue and shortness of breath. When she went to the doctor, Maria learned that she had developed anemia due to a long-term iron deficiency. Doctors explained that the coffee she drank with eggs blocked the absorption of iron, which led to this dangerous condition. How to avoid this mistake? The solution is simple. Drink coffee no sooner than 45 minutes after a meal. This will give the body time to fully absorb all the necessary micronutrients from eggs and other foods. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health recommends starting the morning with more neutral beverages, such as water with lemon or herbal tea, and leaving coffee for later in the day. Mistake 6. Never combine eggs with legumes. This can lead to stomach ulcers, pancreatitis, and chronic inflammation of the intestines. For many who strive for a balanced diet, eggs and legumes seem like the perfect combination. These foods are rich in protein and offer nutritional value, but few people know that consuming them together can be a real time bomb for your digestive system. Why? It's all about the fact that the proteins found in eggs and legumes are difficult to digest at the same time. This leads to increased gas, bloating, and most dangerously, inflammation of the gastrointestinal tract. The National Institutes of Health conducted a study that showed that combining different protein sources increases the strain on the pancreas and stomach. This overstress can result in pancreatitis, one of the most serious diseases of the pancreas, which leads to inflammation and tissue destruction. Legumes contain anti-enzymes that interfere with the normal digestion of proteins, which further complicates the situation. One of the victims of this combination was a 42-year-old resident of Canada, Jason Miller. Jason, being an active follower of healthy eating, ate an omelet with beans for breakfast every day, considering it a perfect start to the day. However, after a few months, he began suffering from severe abdominal pain and frequent bloating. His doctor diagnosed him with chronic gastritis and inflammation of the pancreas caused by difficulty digesting proteins. To prevent possible digestive problems, it is recommended not to combine eggs and legumes in the same meal. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, it is better to separate meals with different protein sources to avoid overloading the digestive system. You can eat legumes for lunch or dinner and eggs separately for breakfast. This will make it easier for your body to handle protein processing and reduce the risk of ulcers, pancreatitis, and inflammatory bowel disease. Mistake 5. Never eat eggs and meat together. This can lead to the development of cardiovascular disease and affect liver health. Meat and eggs on the same table seems like a classic combination, but in reality, it's one of the most harmful duos imaginable. Why it's dangerous? It's all about the high concentration of protein and fat found in both foods. The human body simply can't handle such an overload, which can eventually lead to serious heart, liver, and kidney disease. A study conducted by the American Heart Association found that consuming high amounts of saturated fat and cholesterol, which are found in both meat and eggs, significantly increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. Researchers found that people who frequently ate eggs with breakfast meat had a 25% higher risk of coronary heart disease than those who ate these foods separately. The high cholesterol content of both foods leads to a buildup of bad cholesterol, low-density lipoprotein, in the blood, which contributes to the formation of plaque in the arteries and increases the risk of heart attacks and strokes. An example of the tragic outcome of this combination can be found in the case of 55-year-old John Wilson from the USA. John was a fan of breakfasts consisting of bacon and eggs and was unaware of the hidden risks. Within 2 years, he developed severe atherosclerosis, which led to a sudden heart attack. Doctors noted that excessive intake of saturated fat and cholesterol played a key role in his condition. To avoid such consequences, it is recommended to separate meat and egg intakes. Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health advises reducing the amount of saturated fat and cholesterol in your diet by replacing meat with plant-based protein sources or fish, which is rich in beneficial omega-3 fatty acids. If you can't give up meat and eggs, try not to eat them together and limit your intake to once or twice a week. This will help to reduce the load on the liver and heart, reduce the level of bad cholesterol, and minimize the risk of cardiovascular disease. Mistake 4. Eggs with milk and cheese is a dangerous combination that can lead to serious gastrointestinal disorders and allergic reactions. Combining eggs with milk and cheese may look like the perfect breakfast solution, but this combination carries a lot of risks for your health. The main problem lies in the difficulty in digesting the proteins found in these foods. Eggs, milk, and cheese are all high in protein, which puts a strain on your digestive system. This strain can cause unpredictable consequences, ranging from discomfort to serious disorders. The National Institutes of Health conducted a study that found that eating eggs and dairy products together can slow digestion and lead to fermentation in the intestines. The study found that the combination of proteins and lactose, a sugar found in milk, can contribute to gas and abdominal bloating, which significantly increases the risk of gastritis and irritable bowel syndrome. These symptoms can lead to long-term digestive problems. According to the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, frequent consumption of dairy products and eggs can impair calcium and vitamin absorption, leading to deficiencies in these important nutrients. This can make it especially difficult to prevent osteoporosis and other bone diseases, as calcium and vitamins play a key role in maintaining bone health. One prime example of the negative effects of this combination is the case of 42-year-old David Haler from the UK. David was an avid consumer of cheese and milk omelets every day. After a few years, he began to experience excruciating abdominal pain and frequent digestive problems. After consulting with doctors, it turned out that his frequent consumption of such products contributed to the development of chronic gastritis and intestinal dysbiosis. To avoid such problems, it is recommended to separate the intake of eggs and dairy products. American Diabetes Association advises to eat them at different meals and pay attention to the rational balance of products. To improve digestion, try to combine eggs with vegetables or whole grain products, which contain fiber and will help improve digestion. If you prefer dairy products, it is better to consume them in combination with fruits or nuts, which do not cause the same load on the digestive tract. Mistake 3. Eggs and potatoes are a dangerous combination that can cause digestive problems such as constipation and flatulence, as well as increase the risk of cardiovascular disease due to the high fat and carbohydrate content. Cooked together, eggs and potatoes may look like the perfect breakfast or dinner, but this combination can turn out to have serious risks for your health. The main danger lies in their effect on blood glucose levels and overall gastrointestinal health. When eggs and potatoes are included in the same meal, they create a powerful combination of protein and carbohydrates, which can cause blood sugar levels to spike. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health explains that potatoes, especially when cooked, contain easily digestible carbohydrates that are quickly converted into glucose. When these carbohydrates are combined with proteins from eggs, it can put significant stress on the pancreas, which must produce insulin to regulate blood sugar. The American Diabetes Association warns that regular consumption of such combinations can contribute to insulin resistance and pre-diabetes. Studies show that blood sugar spikes contribute to inflammation in the body, which in turn can increase the risk of developing type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Does this combination also affect digestion? Yes. and quite seriously. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that eating too much carbohydrate and protein in one meal can slow digestion, leading to excessive gas and stomach discomfort. In addition, potatoes are high in starch, which, by interacting with egg whites, can make them harder to digest, causing digestive upset. Consider the case of 53-year-old David Stevenson from Canada. David was a fan of hearty breakfasts and often ate scrambled eggs with potato wedges. After a few months, he began to experience severe abdominal pain, bloating, and frequent bowel problems. After seeking medical attention, he learned that his digestive system was overloaded and needed a more balanced diet. To avoid such problems, you should be careful about combining eggs and potatoes in the same dish. The National Institutes of Health advises splitting your carbohydrate and protein intake throughout the day to avoid overloading your digestive system and keep your blood sugar levels stable. You can start your day with a serving of eggs and include potatoes as a separate meal at lunch or dinner. It is also a good idea to combine potatoes with fiber-rich vegetables to slow down the absorption of carbohydrates and reduce the risk of blood sugar spikes. Mistake 2. Eggs and sugar are a dangerous combination that can lead to a sharp increase in blood sugar levels, which in turn increases your risk of developing type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. When eggs, which are rich in protein and fat, are combined with sugar, it not only disrupts the harmony of your diet, but can also cause serious health problems. Not only does this combination cause unpleasant metabolic reactions, but it can potentially lead to various diseases, including diabetes and cardiovascular problems. Eggs are high in protein and fats, which slow the absorption of sugar. But when combined with sugar, they create an unfavorable metabolic load. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health emphasizes that high sugar consumption is associated with an increased risk of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Sugar, especially in processed forms, is rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream, causing glucose levels to spike. In turn, this requires the pancreas to produce increased insulin to process this excess sugar. The American Diabetes Association points out that sudden fluctuations in blood sugar levels can contribute to chronic inflammation, which in the long run increases the risk of developing diabetes and cardiovascular disease. It has been proven that such fluctuations can destroy the cells responsible for insulin production and cause a pre-diabetic state. The wrong combination of eggs and sugar can also affect cardiovascular health. The American Heart Association reports that high sugar consumption can contribute to fat accumulation in the liver and impaired lipid metabolism, which in turn leads to increased cholesterol levels and risk of cardiovascular disease. Case in point, Mary Johnson, 47, from Australia, was known for her love of sugary breakfasts, including eggs with sweetened fruits and syrups. Over time, she began to experience symptoms associated with diabetes, such as constant thirst and fatigue. After a medical examination, she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes caused by improper food combinations and excessive sugar intake. To avoid such problems, it is important to strike a balance and avoid combining eggs and high-sugar foods in one meal. The National Institutes of Health recommends spreading your sugar and protein intake throughout the day to avoid sudden changes in blood sugar levels. For example, you can start the day with eggs and vegetables and leave sweets for snacking between meals to avoid overloading your body with several problematic components at once. Attention! The most dangerous combination. Mistake 1. Eggs and fish are a dangerous combination that can lead to food poisoning and allergic reactions, increasing the risk of serious gastrointestinal disorders and digestive dysfunction. Eggs and fish are both popular sources of protein and important nutrients. However, combining them can lead to serious health problems. It is important to understand why this combination can be dangerous and how to avoid possible risks. When eggs and fish are used together, especially in fried or baked form, combining them can make it difficult to digest and absorb nutrients. This is because both of these foods have different acidity levels and different digestion rates. Eggs contain a lot of proteins and fats that require certain conditions for efficient digestion, while fish, especially oily fish, also contains a significant amount of proteins and fats that can further complicate the digestive process if they are consumed together. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health points out that a high fat and protein content in the diet can slow the digestive process and lead to problems such as indigestion and bloating. The combination of the two foods can overload the digestive system, leading to discomfort and potential impaired absorption of nutrients. The American Heart Association notes that combining high-protein and fatty foods can increase the risk of blood cholesterol accumulation and the development of cardiovascular disease. High-fat intake, especially saturated fat from eggs and fish, can contribute to the formation of atherosclerotic plaques in arteries, which increases the risk of heart attack and stroke. Case in point, 53-year-old Jonathan Smith from the UK often cooked dishes with eggs and fish, such as omelets with fish. After a few months, he started experiencing frequent abdominal pain and dyspepsia. After a medical examination, he was found to have stomach problems and high cholesterol. His diet, rich in a combination of eggs and fish, proved to be the key factor aggravating his condition. To avoid such problems, it is recommended to follow some rules when planning your diet. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention advises against overloading the digestive system by eating high-protein and high-fat foods at the same time. Instead, it's best to split meals by eating eggs and fish at different meals. It is also a good idea to include more fruits and vegetables in your diet, which help proteins and fats to be more easily digested and absorbed. In this video, we use data from several major U.S. organizations that play a key role in studying the biological processes of aging, finding ways to slow aging, and developing innovative technologies to extend life. Read more about them in the description below the video. What do you think about this? Do you agree with these statements? If there are any questions, ask them in the comments. More information on this topic can be found at the links in the description below this video and on our channel.
Subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications. Please like and share this video with your friends. Thanks to our sponsors for their support. I eagerly await your comments and encourage you to watch these useful videos.